No.
Two of you are going to go live. What are you talking about?
Everything but the holiday special is garbage.
Oh,
Wow.
everything but the holiday special is garbage. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoiler Room. And what a way to open an episode. Thank you, BFD. Appreciate you, folks. Don't leave the Spoiler Room. Sit down. Drinks are on the house tonight after you hear Glenn, the BFD, say that the only good Star Wars film is the holiday special. It's just, he's got a thing for B. Arthur. I mean.
Who doesn't, really?
B. Arthur. No, it was all right. No,
not B. Arthur.
No. Corman.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All Corman.
All Corman. That's true.
Oh, sorry. By the way, I forgot to bring this up. R.I.P. Charles Grodin passed away today. Yeah.
Yes. Before we get into it, Charles Grodin passed. Guy who was popular with the Muppets, Midnight Run. A lot of people enjoy Midnight Run. I enjoy it. Dave, many different movies, and he did pass. So at least
did he ever do any canon films?
So I don't think he did any canon films.
It's a missed opportunity
because I think during that time he was actually getting work in major studios, so I don't think he needed to go to canon films. Which, wow, that was I guess maybe that was a bit harsh. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yes, it is another Chuck month, and the other Chuck month. But not only that, tonight is officially another Canon Fodder film. Woohoo! Now, so we've got some things to cover tonight. That means the Canon will get fired, though I don't know if I've got my my special effect queued up tonight. So we might have to just fill it in later. Fix it in post. Anyway. But I've got a great group with me tonight to talk about Death Wish 3 from 1985. Yes, folks, the crew with me tonight is none other than, once again with us, the BFD himself, Mr. Glenn Bittner. Hello, Glenn. How are you? That good. This is going to be a great... That's it. That's all Glenn had to say. It says so much. Well, we love your size, Glenn. Glad you could have you here tonight. And yes, my right-hand man, the man who's taken many a journey with me over the past year through the pandemic here on the show. He keeps coming back. It is none other than Mr. Ian Simmons. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about what is so far my favorite Death Wish movie.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this one myself. Very excited to talk about Death Wish 3, 1985. And Glenn, why don't you give the synopsis of Death Wish 3?
All right. So Paul Kersey's come home to celebrate Life Day. No, I'm sorry. He is in L.A. to visit a friend of his who just happens to get murdered. Well, sorry, almost murdered. He doesn't die until after Kersey gets there, so he can die in his arms. And of course, then instantly the police show up in a movie where they never show up anywhere ever for any crime. They're there right away for this thing, so they can arrest Mr. Vigilante, as the police chief or captain finds out. It's like, yeah, you're not that guy. You're Paul Kersey. You're Mr. Vigilante. I was in New York. And I remember you were unconscious. And now I'm going to use you to spy on the criminals that I don't even bother arresting anyways, because we just let the main gang leader who killed your friend go. So, hey. And then he goes and hangs with a whole bunch of old people and sets up some traps, but nowhere near enough stuff because he lets most of the old people get killed. So he's really bad at his job protecting everyone. And he has conflicts of, after almost everyone's dead, of the, maybe I'm doing more harm than good. You wait for that now. There's like no one left.
Yeah, now he thinks of it, right?
Yep. And we get a machine gun and yeah.
And a rocket launcher.
Hordes of gang members.
Hordes. They just keep coming. It's
like the end of Streets of Fire in the last 20 minutes, except they're actually like blowing stuff up.
Yes, and the dumbest civilians to ever exist just like there are hordes of gang members on the streets all the time, and they're just like, we're just gonna walk down the street carrying our groceries. Like, what the?
Well, they gotta eat.
The fact that they're like assaulted and like every day, I'm like that degree. I'm like, what is that that's keeping you in this neighborhood? I think I'd rather just go somewhere and be homeless than stay in that neighborhood.
Well, there's gonna be a lot of there's a lot of homeless people after this movie because every building at the end of this thing gets blown up. Yeah. Every car gets set on fire. I mean, that's the thing is like every car in this movie was colored at the factory using gasoline-based paint. I mean, there's nothing that survives.
Yeah. If I didn't know better, I would think they were all Pintos, but they're not.
They're all Pintos.
They explode. It's like, oh, look at that birdland. Oh, it blew up. That one blew up. My shop. My shop.
Well, come on now.
His tax service that looked like a bodega. Like, I don't know. This something weird going on with this neighborhood.
I'm not sure, but I think that was his shop. I'm not positive.
I think
that was it. It was a tax prepper's office.
Oh, I know.
But it looked like a convenience store.
It had his shop was the taxi repair place. It had the taxi place, but he also repaired engines and shit there.
Oh, maybe that's what I saw. I saw tax preparer on the marquee, but you're probably saying it was taxi repair.
It was taxi. Yeah, it was taxi repair. Not well, that's repair.
That's a good combo business. Tax, get your taxes done while you get your cab fixed.
Well, there you could do. Yeah, that's true.
And I know if I owned a cab company, I would tell my drivers, you should go get it fixed. Where there are just roving gangs of criminals who will steal it from you immediately.
Cannon just doubles down in this film because, I mean, we don't get crepes. I mean, we get right into the gangs and like every trope we've seen in the last two Death Wish films has just been amped up and multiplied. So the crazy gangs we saw at like the end of Death Wish 1 where he does the famous gun thing, and then he, in 2 you kind of had him amped. It like multiply all of those by 10, and that's what this one gang is with the not equal for their gang sign, which I'm not sure the 2 lines and a line through it. I just kept thinking, not equal? What? That's their game? The not equals?
What? Well, when I was watching this, I was thinking, was this what Frank Miller was watching as entertainment when he was coming up with like the Dark Knight Returns and Sin City? Because all these gang members, because he always had such weird criminals in his comics. I'm like, this is starting to make sense now. I think these are all Death Wish 3 rejects.
Death Wish 3 rejects. They might have been. You never know. I
also love that the gang members, like, I don't think they actually name the gang specifically the Creepers. It's just that everybody in the film refers to the gang members as creeps or creepers. Just like instead of like, thugs or menaces or anything, they're just all creepers. The chief, one of which is named Fraker. That's kind of a new twist, is that we've actually got a notable hierarchy. We've got a leader.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys recognize the actor Gavin O'Hurley. What he had been in was right around this time, probably a couple of years earlier.
I remember it being mentioned. I forgot what he was in. He reminded me of a Great Value version of what's his name? the villain in Highlander, Clancy Brown.
Clancy
He reminded
Brown,
me of
yeah.
a great value Clancy Brown is what he reminded me of.
Well, he was actually Brad, the asshole boyfriend in Superman 3.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which is weird because he did that movie like 2 years before this, and yet he looks about 20 years younger in this movie than he did in that one. Odd.
Yeah, he was in a number of he was in Never Say Never Again.
He broke the rules,
well.
Mark.
I know. He was in a number of films. He did break the rules.
Yeah, he was in Willow.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. TV stuff too.
Other stuff.
He did a lot of TV stuff.
He was in Space Raiders.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one in forever.
But
Man.
you know, in this one, he was doing like a great value Clancy Brown, which was, you know, from Highlander, which is okay because we also got great value Ernest Borgnine here in the form of the gentleman who did play Pendergast in Psycho. So mad respect there. I love Psycho. I recognized him, but in this one, he really looked like Ernie Borgnine.
Well, yeah, the actor's name is Martin Balsam, and I like to think that this was an homage to Psycho because in both movies he gets horribly attacked falling downstairs.
That's true. He does. Well, because he gets a gun that he didn't, you know, that jammed on him. So,
and he was using that gun in a very Wild Bunch fashion, which would tie into Ernest Borgnine. Man,
right?
We're opening up some shit here.
I thought he was going to take that, was it 30 caliber gun that he has in his closet with all the ammo and going to mow down the villains, but he wasn't Kersey. Excuse me, Kimball. You fucking, it's Bronson.
Can we talk about the fact that Charles Bronson's gun did not, in fact, transform into Megatron? Because I swear to God, that was the Megatron gun.
Yep, that's I'm watching the whole thing. Every people it on, I'm going like,
the wildly looked definitely like Megatron's gun. Absolutely looked
and
like
the Wild Stallion, who's also in this movie. When I saw Alex Winter's name in the opening credits, I'm like, nah. Oh my God, yeah.
It's his one of two canon films that Alex Winter did.
What was the other one?
He did a drama. I forgot the name of it offhand. It was kind of a dramatic film.
No way.
Yeah, way.
The drama he was in, I believe, was called Freaked. That was the drama he was in, right?
Freaked. No, it was. Let me see, because he did. Yeah. Well, there was Freaked, but no, he did a Death Wish. Actor. He did a Squeal of Death. What the hell, man? A short film. Alex Winter's an amazing individual, actually. Yeah, he did Death Wish 3. This was his first actual film, and then Haunted Summer. That's what was the other one. Sorry, it wasn't a dramatic. He did Haunted Summer, which was also a canon film, which was set in 1815. And I believe this was a canon film as well, if I read up correctly. Yeah, it's anyway.
Canon was a weird studio, man. Anyway,
they produce anything. That's what makes them amazing. But getting back to this film, so yeah, Kersey. I mean, we get the gang. You would think, okay, he's out of family members to kill. What's Death Wish 3 gonna cover? Well, it covers an army buddy who gets killed, and he goes to what has got to be the worst side of New York. I'm like, you know, he's back because he's back in New York, and we get that wonderful 5 minutes of him in a bus, which I don't think the inside of the bus and the outside of the bus matched. I think they were two different buses, in all honesty. But you know, with that wonderful jazzy tune, music going on. And yeah, then he goes visits his buddy. His buddy literally is on the phone with him getting beat. Or just after, that's right. It hangs up, and then he goes after him, and then we get kind of Kersey being Kersey. We get the cops. It's funny because I was like, oh, they're going to take an angle now to where the cops are bad, because we get this opening scene. They catch Kersey with his buddy. There's no blood on his buddy. His buddy's obviously been beat to shit, but they automatically assume he killed his buddy.
Yeah.
These aren't even
classic old man on old man crime.
Right. in a high crime area where they know gang members are beating the crap out of and killing people on a daily basis. They automatically assume that this guy holding the dead body in his hands is the one who actually did the killing. And then the cops beat the crap out of Kersey at the station. So I'm like, oh, are they going to play that these are dirty cops and he's going to go after the dirty cops? Because it's been so long since I've seen Death Wish 3. But no, they're dirty and bad, and Kersey doesn't like them until a third of the way into the film. And then suddenly we're buddies.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting premise, though, that Ed Lauter, who plays the police chief, like you alluded to earlier, Mark, discovers Paul Kersey's identity, and he's like, crime sucks in this city. Maybe if I just cut you loose, and we're not going to press charges for this crime that you obviously did not commit anyway.
Right.
And I gotta
if you work for me.
I gotta add, discovers his identity in like 4 seconds.
Well, he knew him because remember,
he
was there that night.
Yeah, he was there that night.
He was there that he was there that night.
That's still an impressive memory. Just be like, oh yeah, you're not this guy, you're that guy from, how long ago?
11 years ago.
11 years ago.
Now, didn't he say that he was there when he was brought into the hospital with a leg wound or something? What was this leg wound? Because when he got messed up, the multiple stab wounds in New York, right? I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking of LA.
You're thinking of LA was when he gets stabbed. No, he gets shot in New York.
These can mix up because they're both just crime-ridden cesspools.
They are just.
He did get stabbed again in this movie, so I gotta make a chart.
Yeah, but he got smart this time. We'll get to that in a minute. But he got smart this time with it. But yeah, this guy was a rookie cop or whatever at the time when they brought Kersey in, who had gotten shot at the end of Death Wish 1, and so he knew him. 12 years later, he recognized him. Though I mean, Bronson hasn't changed much since his hair got grayer. That's about it. So I guess I could see how he would recognize him. But so after he beats Kersey kicks him in the balls, and then after they put him in lockup, he beats up a bad guy. Then main bad guy, Clancy Brown, great value, gets his buddies to beat Kersey up, but not completely. Kersey still kind of holds his own. Then
by rolling around. Defensive rolling.
And although I love this guy, one thing I love about the villain in Death Wish 3 is this guy, he's playing it to the hilt. I mean, he gets free. He's got a lawyer, and he's getting released, and he turns to Kersey and says, I'll kill an old woman in your name. I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, this villain's in like a completely different movie than everybody else.
Yeah, he's great. I just want to know more about him, because he is just hanging out, running these dirt bags on the street, but he's got this high-priced lawyer. He apparently has no criminal record somehow. Like, how does this work? Why isn't he like on Wall Street?
Well, they tried to play the angle, right, Biff? That he's never been caught actually doing a crime. It's been his buddies in that, but his
barber certainly committed a crime.
With the reverse mohawk.
Like, whoa, is that like is that what the equal sign of the line through it was? It was to signify that he had the two sides and then the middle is the I don't know what I'm doing. We're the reverse mohawks? We're the not Mr. T's? What are we?
The not Mr. T's. Definitely. Yeah, well, there was that this will surprise everyone. There was some inconsistencies in this script.
Get out of here.
Because supposedly this guy never got caught actually committing a crime, but about halfway through the film, he's legitimately, seriously committing a crime on a security camera in a parking lot that just happened to not tell who he was, because there are a lot of people with reverse mohawks hanging out with other folks, grabbing Maria Sirtis and shoving her in a car after you rip open her shirt, which, you know, I feel bad for Miss Deanna Troi because I think she gets one line in this film.
Well, she gets a couple of lines.
A couple lines? Okay.
Here's the thing. As a Star Trek The Next Generation fan from way back and watching that show at what I'll call a very critical age, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I always wondered. But to quote the Matrix, not like this.
No, not like this, because once again, we have Michael Winner again here.
Most ironically named director in all of history.
The man who has this panache. Okay, some directors have, you know, certain signatures in their films, like Kubrick, you know, many takes to get the classic example, Quentin Tarantino has like a reference to previous movies or whatever, you know, he's got a style with his music, and Spielberg is Spielberg. He's got a certain style to him. Apparently Michael Winner has hung his hat on having to have a rape scene in every movie he's made. Because it's funny, I'm watching this film and we're like half an hour or so into it or whatnot. I'm like, there hasn't been a rape scene yet. I'm like, almost on cue. I'm like, oh, we probably won't have a rape scene. And then Maria Sirtis, her character is in the parking lot by herself, and the guys grab her and rip her shirt. I'm like, oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah, and then they drag her into a warehouse, almost like a callback, a Tarantino style callback to the previous movie where Kersey's daughter was assaulted in a warehouse.
Yes.
I mean, I was kind of with you, Mark. I was like, wait, do I have to rip up my Charles Bronson bingo card now because there's no sexual assault going on? It would have been really funny if the gang who broke into the old man's apartment in the beginning, like one of them starts pulling their pants down.
Oh God, with the old man. Ooh.
Yeah. Now here's my question though. I don't know if it's a question of editing or they were trying to show the passage of time, but when they're beating up on the old man, Alex Winter is in the extreme foreground stabbing, and the angle, it almost looks like he's stabbing a person, but he's just stabbing the couch. He's repeatedly ripping the couch open, and then when they cut back to it, his friend is having to wake him up because he's passed out on the couch. I guess he climaxed from all the stabbing. I don't know what was going on there.
I don't know. Glenn, what was going on there with Mr. Alex Winter, with Bill S. Preston, Esquire?
Narcolepsy? I don't know.
Narcolepsy, nice. Yeah, I mean, this film has, I mean, this neighborhood has every crook known to man in it constantly. I mean, if you ever played Grand Theft Auto, did you ever play Grand Theft, the later games, you know, where there's just crime happening everywhere in the neighborhood? It was kind of like that. I mean, you have the one guy who is the giggler. I think that was
that. Yeah, the giggler.
The giggler, because he laughed because he was so fast, he would steal purses and whatnot. He'd run up and steal purses. People who lived in this town, in this neighborhood, ladies who have lived in this neighborhood, still kept purses on their shoulder, knowing this guy, like, every day would run past and steal your purse. I mean, if you owned a purse shop in this neighborhood, you made some money.
That's true.
I am so mad. You have the perfect opportunity, because they show him like setting up booby traps in like apartments. It's like you could have just simply done all right, he likes to grab purses. Great. Send an old woman out there with a purse. Giggler grabs the purse and runs away. And I would have loved to see Charlie just with.
Yep.
That's what I wanted, but no.
Or, you know, have the purse and then you just have like a little string to the pin on a grenade. And then as he runs, it pulls the pin out. And then as the guy's running with the grenade, boom. But that's okay, because it's because of Giggler we get to see the Wildy in which Bronson like teases Like he teamed for like there's like a 10-minute time where people are like, this crime happens, another gang member does someone. He's like, don't worry, Wildy's coming. Wildy's will be here. Wildy, and you're like, who the fuck is Wildy? And I'm thinking back to the previous Death Wish films and thinking of a character named Wildy. I'm like, who's Wildy? Because I was thinking maybe it's the old vigilante calling up my old buddy with weapons. No. Wildy is a 475 Magnum.
Now, this was a missed opportunity and a half. You know, Glenn, you're absolutely right with the giggler and the purse bomb. That would have been great. But the Wildy shows up in this beautiful kind of an ornate box. And I think there's even like a gold plate on the cover that right. Yeah. I was looking to see if it said like, you know, from your old buddy Ames Jane Chill. Yeah. Because that was an Ames Jane Chill box. But no,
that's what I thought. I thought, you know, he got it from his buddy in Arizona. You know, that would have been a great callback to connect the franchise, you know, the trilogy. But no, we don't get that. But here's a fun fact that I got from, pardon me, the Shill, the Canon Film Guide, Volume 1, 1980 to 1984. And the reason I plug it is because it's got a whole section in there about these films and the next one. But apparently the Wildy was Bronson's. That was his actual gun that he had customized. And apparently the guy who customized it was a consultant on the film.
Wow.
But apparently that was Bronson's actual gun. That's probably why the case. It was probably his case. And so that's why he
walked the walk is what you're saying. That's crazy.
And it's also probably why I will say, folks, this is the first time in 3 Death Wish films he smiles like a lot. It's like the director was like, okay, Bronson, okay, the first 2 films, I know you've been working on this character, but I want you to try to smile and then Bronson's like, oh, you want me to smile now? And so he's just smiling like the entire movie.
And because America, this movie saved that gun company from bankruptcy.
Did it really?
Yes.
Whoa.
Really? And the owner of the company said that every time Death Wish aired on TV, they saw a spike in sales.
Canon.
Because, you know, I mean, you had Dirty Harry with the 44 Magnum,
right?
And I just like that when someone's like, "Is that like a 44 Magnum?" It's almost, you can even just see his facial expression, just be like, "Fuck you with your 44 Magnum, 475." Thank you very much.
And then, I mean, you know, they were playing to Bronson's strengths. It's like the best scenes he has where he's actually smiling isn't when he's in a love interest with the most awkward and cold fish kisses ever. No, it's when he's holding the gun and pointing it at bad guys, or when you get the one scene where they're in there and he's making his own bullets and his buddy asks, you make your own ammo? He's like, nothing's too good for my friends. And Bronson is like, he's got this look of glee on his face, like this is something he does in his spare time, you know.
Well, I think what it is now he's got the license to do it. Before he was the vigilante, like he was constantly looking over his shoulder, and I got to cover this up, and I have to like show up nice and presentable for my architecture job, which wasn't even mentioned in this movie. No. But now it's like, oh, I'm basically working for the cops and they told me to go out and kill a bunch of people. So, hey, it's the American dream come true.
Well, but he also screws over the cops for a good chunk of the film because they beat him up, which is the only setup I can think of reason why they have him actually getting abused by the cops and showing the cops in the poor light is that it explains him not just jumping on the back. Oh, thank you. You know, and giving up information willingly. He pretty much, you know, they're like, oh, you gave me carte blanche to go kill these guys. And then they're asking him, you know, excuse me, the captain, the commissioner, he asks him, you know, do you got any leads or anything? He's like, nope, I ain't got nothing for you, Jack. You freaking beat the shit out of me in the station. Like, I'm going to tell you shit. You just told me I could go kill people. I'm going to go kill people. Oh, yeah, I'm also going to play like, you know, I'm going to play like Home Alone with the apartment.
He was totally Kevin McAllister in this movie, and I loved it. Like, what are those? Teeth. And he laughs.
Here's what's funny is, folks, you may hear me ribbing on this film, but I loved every fucking minute of this movie. All ridiculous.
My favorite one.
Freaking minutes of this film, because it is so ridiculous. From him putting the board with the wah wah music with the nails because he has someone coming in, which, by the way, the main bad guy, Fracker, he's got a phone. And he's got everybody's phone number that he calls, because he calls Kersey and he called the old guy and he's calling Lefter. They can't track him down. The cops can't, but by God, he's got his own phone going on.
Well, I was thinking about The Dark Knight, like watching the last half hour of this movie, because one thing that I really admire, it's a goofy film, but one thing I really admire is the idea of the insane bad guy, like closing the walls in so intently on the vigilante hero that he has no choice but to declare, they declare all out war on each other.
Right.
Because there's that great moment where, Fraker is, you kind of mentioned it. He calls Bronson at his apartment, after essentially calling one of the other senior citizens at this store and saying, yeah, you might want to get home to your wife. She's not feeling too well or something, or she's
he
dying.
slit her throat. Yeah.
He slit her throat. He arranges to have Bronson's new girlfriend, the public defender.
Yeah. The public defender.
She's out in her car one night. They're on a date. He goes, it's probably like midnight, but he goes to the all-night postal drop box to
get his missile launcher
box. Yes. Comes back. She's gone because two people had punched her in the face, knocked her out, taken the brake off the car, and then pushed it down into traffic, where, again, because this thing was painted with gasoline, it explodes and she dies. Let's see. There's all this other stuff. There's a bunch of other things that happen, like people get killed all around. And I think that's when the assault on Martin Balsam happens. It's right around there. So it's Kersey has nothing left, and he realizes that this guy is going to come after him and come after everybody he loves, which, that's why you get out the Gatling gun or whatever it is that he's and the rocket launcher at the end. I loved it.
The 30 cal, that 230 cals that Bennett, great value, Ernest Borgnine,
he brought back from the war.
So he's got at least
my duffel bag, got my dog tags, and here my
my grandpa from the war brought home some German money and a pocket watch and the original bottle of Coke he was issued on D-Day. That's what he brought home. But this guy somehow got 230 cal machine guns,
not just
with belts of ammunition.
He brought back from the war. Yeah.
What do you got in that bag? Nothing. Okay.
They were just giving that shit away, don't you know? That's the war ended. We win. And while everybody's staring at the sailor kissing the woman involuntarily, he was just walking past with his bags of 30 cal guns, one of which didn't work,
But this would have been after Korea, though.
Oh, that would have been after Korea.
Oh,
yeah,
he probably just said, they said, what are you doing with those guns? And he'd be like, they're the communists. Oh, okay, go ahead and keep them.
Hell, they probably said, here's some extra ammo, and gave him the cardboard box.
One enough. Here, take a second one.
You can never have enough 30 cals in your apartment. Which, again, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, which do come into play. I mean, it's glad that we have them.
Well, that's the other thing is, I was trying to think of the name of it. The Nintendo game from right around this time. Was it Hogan's Alley, where it's the old carnival shooter where you're just shooting bad guys who pop up? That's what the last 15 minutes of this movie is. Just bad guys popping out of apartment buildings or on the roof or whatever, and to him just shooting people. I love that the neighbors, the civilians, finally they have enough and they're all kind of packing heat somehow, and they just start kicking ass. But then they also get retaliated against. There's the horrible scene where the one apartment gets firebombed because the couple was shooting, I think, at Fraker. So he firebombs the apartment and then Uzis the people as they run out on fire. Oh my God, this thing is dark.
Oh yeah, this lasts like 15 minutes. It's just insanity. I mean, it's just building up to it. I mean, before this, folks, we'll set it up. Kersey is poking the bear, with the bad guy. He's killing the crooks off one by one initially. And then the bad guy who never gets his hands dirty almost gets his hands dirty taking out Kersey. And then so you got Kersey building up this love interest, which is the worst. With the public defender who is having a change of heart of defending crooks. She doesn't want to defend crooks anymore. In fact, she's kind of for the vigilante justice, which, of course, that just gets his muzzle stiff. And so he's like, all right. And then they have two of the worst kisses ever on screen. I mean, it's like, I mean, it literally is like the director.
I don't know
said,
what
okay,
gesture you're making there, Mark, but
but it's like there's no, it's just okay, and then they get busy, and then they decide to go to late night breakfast. So they didn't even like go to the next morning. These two got it on, got busy, got their, going, and then they decided to have late night breakfast, and that's when she gets killed. What gets me about this scene is it's coming. It's like the minute he showed a love interest, you're like, okay. What I didn't expect was her to die in a car accident. I thought they were going to pull her out of the car and rape her as well, because the death wish formula of Mr. Winner is just that winner, winner, rape and dinner type of thing going on, so, with this director.
That's your episode title, by the way.
But she gets killed in the car. But let's look at this car. The car is driving fairly slow down the hill. It's not really going that fast. The car it hits, what was holding that car together? Because that thing literally disintegrates. And there's no way that one big car, which was hitting, we're talking the 80s. I had an 85 Buick LeSabre. It's like a freaking tank, okay? And it's two of the big old cars with steel frame. But that one that she hits, it just kind of like, it was like...
the car it hit, that was a Pontiac Picker Mache. That was an experimental car they tried out, trying to compete with the Japanese, and it just did not work.
Kind of got that prototype cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, the factory down the street was the one that was in the movie Gung Ho with Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
because the car just disintegrated. Then, yeah, of course, it blew up. Like, I mean, just because
it's the gasoline paint. I'm telling you,
the gasoline paint. So you got all this. It builds up. He's got his rocket launcher, which you're waiting to see him use. It's going to use it because it describes to the gentleman who's helping him out, the Hector, who is the husband. I think it was Hector. Yeah, who was the husband of Maria Sirtis's character. He's helping him out because his wife, who just broke her leg. Okay, folks, get this. Arm.
Broke her arm.
She got sexually assaulted, and they found her with just a broken arm. That's what they called them. Mm-hmm. They go to the hospital, which, depending on where the camera is at the time, this hospital is either out of the neighborhood or it's in the neighborhood, depending, because Bennett was in the hospital and he could see the gangs outside his window, but they actually traveled elsewhere for Maria Sirtis, her hospital.
It just takes up several city blocks. It's one building.
It's one very, huge,
very long way to get there.
But anyway, they go see her, Maria, and in the amount of time it took them to go from the apartment building to the hospital, she dies. And
no, she did not die, Mark. She expired.
Excuse
old
me.
Milk. Like, sorry, your wife has expired.
The doctor says she expired, not that she died, passed away. No. I mean, he comes up, he goes, "Oh, where's my wife?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, she expired." Yeah, you're right. Just like Chuck, like it was bad milk. Like, yeah, I opened up.
Oh, the broken arm. Whoopsie.
No, but
there. Yeah, I know. There was the whole. Oh, there was
chips.
Yeah.
Well, no, but here's the thing. It's there is literary precedent for this. I don't know if you guys ever had to read a separate piece by John Knowles in high school, but the main character, the I guess the anti-hero of that story, Phineas, I think he got a broken arm or something, and the same, like, I swear to God, the same thing happened where it's like a clot or like a bone or something like made its way to his heart and killed him. Sorry, spoiler for that.
Well, way to go.
Novel.
Way to go. Yeah. But yeah,
when was that written?
Long time ago.
Yeah, so
in a galaxy far, far away.
I'd like to think that we have X-rays now, where they could have been like, "Oh, look at that!" There's
well, I mean, this was.
Did you see that hospital?
They had X-rays.
Did you see that hospital? It was like an abandoned apartment complex where they have one IV drip and a blanket. There was no way that was a hospital.
It's just a broken arm. How do you know it was a broken arm? Because when I poked her in the arm, she screamed a lot. So that's only a broken arm. Broken arm. That's all. We're good.
Yeah. Well, there's the other thing too. Kersey shows you how just disconnected Kersey is to just about anyone, even his love interest. That was like just a disconnect. But the hospital called, your wife is fine. She just had a broken arm. She got sexually assaulted by multiple guys. She got sexually assaulted by multiple guys because he knew that before the phone call. And they got the phone call and Kersey's like, oh no, she's fine.
Well, maybe it's just that the neighborhood is so bad that the default admittance to the hospital is sexual assault. Like,
oh wow,
it's like everyone comes here. They've just been torn up.
Yeah,
but she also has a broken arm, so we'll just mention that
she's got a broken arm. So yeah,
but sorry, we looked under her scalp, and yeah, she's expired. So the date there was past.
She was past her date. Just one day passed. You know how that goes. I mean, it's like an avocado.
You can't have a wife past the expiration date. They start to smell.
It's like an avocado, right? An avocado, it's good one day, and then it hits its expiration date, and the next day, it's mush.
That's how you get rickets.
This script is ridiculous because then never mind the fact, too, that Kersey's in jail for like a day. Let's paint this time frame as well, because time has no meaning in this movie. And by what I mean is Kersey's arrested overnight in the clink, gets released, says, okay, you're unhinged, go kill some guys. He gets back to his buddy's apartment after talking to Bennett, and Bennett says, oh, rent's paid to the end of the month. Ha, ha, ha. Here you go. I'm like, what? Okay. Like any landlord's going to collect anyway while he's there. But in any case, he decides to stay at his old buddy's place. In that 24 hours, they had the funeral already and buried his buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've had a number of relatives pass, especially in the last few years. It's not a 16-hour turnaround for a funeral from when they had him. Never mind, it's a criminal investigation.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's such a terrible neighborhood. They've got it down to a science. They can do. They've got like drive-through funerals at this point.
It blew me. I'm like, what?
They will be missed. Next.
Yeah. It was like, wait, what? And then the like I said, the heel turn, good guy cop angle. It's like, why did you even have the cops beating him in the beginning? You could have just had him let go. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot with that setup, because at the end we get them teaming up. We get the guy who he initially kicked in the nads, and they're teaming up to take out the gang in this 15-minute action-packed. It's gotta be one of the most insane endings to a movie. And I've watched a lot of movies and a lot of action films, and this is one of the most insane, batshit crazy endings. No, I mean, you already were talking about it a little bit. Houses are firebombed. There's motorcycle gangs. There's other gangs walking around with a 30 cal with his buddy mowing down gang members, and they just keep coming from the spawn point. And,
well, they've also got a news helicopter, which I wrote this down because I couldn't believe what I'd heard, but the way the news person was radioing in, it said, "Looks like we have a riot on our hams." What? But no, what I loved about this is at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, because there's a Death Wish 4, the crackdown. Kersey escapes, or he leaves. This is also going on the bingo card. A ranking member of authority who could turn him in gives him a head start to escape. So Kersey walks away, and he just kind of like walks off into the sunset, and the most of the end credits is just emergency response vehicles showing up to deal with all the carnage.
Trying not to hit your star of the movie because he didn't walk down the sidewalk. He's walking down the street. And I watched the cop cars during the credits avoid him. And I'm just sitting there going, well, this wasn't a SAG movie. That's for sure. Like, wow.
But I just love that. Yeah, after all this carnage, like, yeah, they're going to need a hefty cleanup detail for this whole thing. It just reinforces the scope of how fucked up it all is.
I mean, they put him under protective custody because it's too dangerous for him to be there. But then they're just like, well, we won't send any cops to that neighborhood.
No,
like that place. It's too dangerous for the guy who will just shoot people. So we'll just leave all the civilians there to deal with it themselves.
Yeah. The cops, they don't know what they're doing with the cops in this script at all.
You think a cop's job is to do, I don't know, like we're supposed to protect and serve or something. I don't know what you're thinking our job is, but we're just here to punch old men that we find who murdered other old men.
Well, I thought they were going to do something more with the corrupt cop angle too, because they bust into that old couple's house to confiscate their guns because the one guy brandished it at the thieves. There's like guns. Yeah, at the gang member. It's like, guns are illegal in this city, so we got to take your guns, and of course that leaves them open to being attacked. I mean, Mark, you mentioned that the purse retailers have to be rolling in dough. How about the people who replace windows and glass in this neighborhood? Because I swear to God, there's like nothing left by the time this thing's over.
Yeah. Well, you meant, the cops show. That was such a weird angle. The cops show up and take the old Jewish couple's gun because it was anonymously reported that they were waving it at gang members. Gang members they know are armed. Gang members they know are stealing purses. They literally have watched them take it.
Gang members who throw television sets at passing police cars.
Yes. Yes.
Or crowds of people throwing bricks and trash cans and a TV as a cop car goes by. But yes, we heard an anonymous tip, probably from a gang member. You were threatening.
Well, it's from Fraker because he
wanted to murder you and take your stuff.
It's because Fraker has the phone call.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was waiting for, was because those cops look kind of shady anyway. I was waiting for them to leave and then take off the uniform, and turns out they're actually they are gang members themselves posing as cops to de-arm the old couple.
No, you don't get that.
We're going to throw some corrupt cops. Oh, cool. What's the storyline there? Nothing. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, that's the thing is you would think they're corrupt because they beat the crap out of Kersey for no reason. You're like, okay, and they're playing that angle where they shove them in the bed, and that's why crime is rampant, because the cops are corrupt and they're just letting things go. But then you get that Hill Street Blues scene with him doing the briefing, going, "What are we doing? He rattles off all the crimes that have happened in his district. And he's like, well, what are we doing about it? And they got the little red brackets around this one square on the map. And what I love about that is I thought they were going to do a police corruption thing. They got a sign in this briefing room
number,
that says, for corruption, report corruption. And it got a phone number for calling corruption.
Did you call that number?
No.
I have to say, I love the lack of editing in the beginning of the movie where Kersey gets in a fight in the cell, and it cuts to like 4 cops then standing like there, and they're like just standing there, and all of a sudden then it's like the action, and then they like run. It's like they just stand there, like
they move,
and all of a sudden just like boom, it's like all 4 of them. It's like, oh, we better go. We have to stop this.
Well, this may surprise you because of the director we have and the history so far with the other two Death Wish films, that apparently the script was heavily rewritten once Winter got the script. So much so that we have yet another writer who wanted his name removed from the film. Unlike the previous writer who couldn't, though, he successfully did. Don Jacoby, who would go on to write Arachnophobia as well as Double Team with Jean-Claude and Simon, what's his name? The basketball player, and Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires. He would write those scripts. The screenplays, he had his name actually removed from here, and they used a pseudonym because he's like, no, because Michael Winter once again got the script and looked at us going, I could do better, and apparently rewrote a lot of it, which makes me wonder if they were going to play an angle with corrupt cops, and the cops being the guys Kersey has to take on versus gang members, but Winter said, nah, because that would have been an interesting angle to have the cops corrupt.
Probably Winter going, you know what, this movie doesn't have enough of is rape scenes. I need more of that. Let's get rid of this coherent script stuff.
And do a 15-minute action scene where we're going to work in another rape scene, attempted rape scene.
Yeah, Raped Interrupted. I think that was an Angelina Jolie movie. No, I'm curious. Yeah, I'd be curious to find out what that original screenplay was like. It just occurred to me, and I haven't seen Death Wish 4, so maybe that's because where else can they go with this thing? But it'd be interesting if Kersey happened to come up against cops who are like deep undercover, so they're trying to like bust a giant operation, but their plans keep getting foiled because Kersey keeps like blowing away all the people they're investigating.
Speaking of
like
blow,
people posing as scumbags, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of blow, cocaine needed its own credit in this movie because the gang members, whenever they were on camera, no matter what they were doing, somebody, at least one person, was doing cocaine. Because when you're a gang member, that's what you do is cocaine.
Yeah, coke. Like
Every
this was
time.
Every time. I know the one guy was like, I don't want to mess with no needles, but
well, that was his chance to kill Kersey, who dropped his gun at one point, his elephant gun cannon. And that's where we find out that at least Kersey this time was smart enough to buy a bulletproof vest, because he gets into some close quarters combat and he gets stabbed and you're like, wait, where's the blood? And you find out, he got smart and bought himself some Kevlar, which is good because he also had a couple bullet holes as well. You're just like, wow, he's like, Superman now, but it's like, no, he's got a Kevlar vest, which he wears quite often, which I will say is a step up from his previous two films where he didn't wear any body armor. So, and we do get the wonderful death scene with the missile launcher, which goes right to being ripping off their own film Invasion USA, which also ended in nearly the exact same way with Chuck Norris, the other Chuck, blowing away the bad guy, yes, spoiler, at the end of Invasion USA with a rocket launcher. We get that here as well with
I was a little disappointed with the rocket launcher just because I guess I was hoping to see maybe as a realistic depiction where there's just like this smoking, burning like debris on the street, but I was hoping to see like a head fly off or arms or limbs or just something barbecuing, and it was just like yeah.
Well, it's really just kind of like not a really like big climactic scene because we've already blown up 1/3 of the city at this point, so it's like, oh, rocket launcher, great, because all of the city on fire, just
exactly, like at least have the rocket launcher blow him out onto the street where he collides with a car and then the car blows up because of the gasoline paint.
Gasoline paint, there you go. He did not have plot armor this time. No, but yeah, I mean it is kind of yet another for Death Wish films and building up to some big bad guy, we get some anticlimactic deaths of the villains in like all of these films. And while an explosion with a missile launcher is climactic, the setup to it isn't. This guy who is the head gang member decides to go at Kersey directly for. He's still got millions of minions at his beck and call, but he decides to go after Kersey because he's crazy, and he gets shot, and then he's got the gun on Kersey, and he decides to turn the gun on Hector instead of just shoot Kersey. Because Kersey's going to call the cops for whatever reason. And it's like, okay. And then that's when he pulls the rocket launcher and we get the wonderful whoosh, and then the big explosion, which I'm trying to figure out how Kersey and Hector survived in the apartment with the explosion that big. I mean, I know it was going out, but still, I'm like, really?
It's the bulletproof vest. It
was the bulletproof vest.
Fire retardant.
And how they knew the burning carcass on the street was, a fracker or whatever, the bad guy.
Because if you'll notice, if you look really closely at it, there's actually there's a strip where there's flames on each side going out right up the middle.
Like you said, there's so much chaos going on in the building. I mean, they firebombed one building that just completely destroys and collapses. Another building gets firebombed, completely destroyed and collapses. And there's one explosion, and suddenly everybody gathers, and they suddenly realize this must be the head gang member, and everybody splits. And I'm like,
well, again, it's the ending of Streets of Fire when Willem Dafoe gets his ass handed to him in the street. Like this entire army of motorcycle gang, there's like, I guess we just go home now.
Wait, that building collapsing, that was the tower, and Fraker is actually Sauron, and him dying is like the ring being destroyed.
My precious.
And I did love the one grandpa moment of Kersey too, where he runs out of bullets for the big gun, and he's all like checking for pockets and like,
for his handgun,
nope, just some worthless originals. That's all they got. So this is.
Yeah, because Kersey's running around the neighborhood with the 30 cal with his buddy, just mowing guys down. I mean, and he does have the plot armor on because these guys can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's standing in. There's no cover. The sunlight is literally on him. He's standing there in broad daylight, open, no coverage, mowing people with
with his hand on the barrel of the machine gun.
Good. I'm not the only one who noticed that. I'm like, wait, is he holding the barrel of a 30 cal?
Of an air-cooled 30 cal.
Air-cooled cooler. I mean, at least Rambo had the handles, and he knew better than to hold it, and it was mounted, but that was a 50 cal, so.
Well, Paul Kersey, he has no nerves left in his hands for all those decades of architecturing whatever he does. But no, the climax, one of the things I loved is I kept having flashbacks to the Rambo scene in UHF. I mean, that's exactly how cartoonish this is, except this movie's supposed to be serious. Yes.
He shoots all the guns and then all the guys fall. Yeah. And you're right. And then there's that angle with the people starting to rise up thanks to Kersey's work, but they don't do anything with that. There's all these little bits of corrupt cops, but nothing ever happens. You get people pulling out their weapons because they're finally getting the bravery to take on the gangs because Kersey's running around with a 30 cal, and it's like, okay, we get like one scene of that. He blows one guy away out in the middle of the street, and everybody cheers like he's a football player.
Well, that's the weird thing. Like that scene needed to be like the kickoff to this revolution scene because it happens way too early, because it's so weird when that guy gets shot and everyone's cheering, it like turns into a Coke commercial. Like, no, you guys you're celebrating. I mean, I know he was a scumbag and everything, but
the world will be throw away some crooks.
Wildy
2. No,
that's the gun I shoot. No, there's so many random ideas, but that's what I love about this. This film is so just crazy. It's like, compared to the other two films, this film is so off the rails that you just turn your brain off and just watch the insanity. And like I said, Bronson is smiling the most he ever did in any of these films, because he gets to hold his own gun. He's getting that money, but he's holding his own gun, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. Never mind the fact that
I can't imagine like the meetings they have where they're like going through the scripts like, well, how is this bigger and better than the last one? Imagine this. We kill everyone in the Bronx. Every person. We kill everybody.
We just, everybody dies. Good people, bad people, cops, kid, Well, the cops die because like the one guy didn't stand behind his cop car. The cops are trying to show the cops doing something during this riot. So you've got this standoff between which is fun. Again, doing something with the citizens firing back, because you get these gang members hold up on this random house, and the cops are in front, and the cops are shooting, and the gangs are shooting. Nobody's hitting nothing. They're like stormtroopers. And then the one cop comes out from behind his car, runs out in the middle of the street between the cars, and shoots at the guys, and then die. It's like,
these were not their best cops.
These were not their best cops. But
then you have the guy too. Like they're like how far away from those guys who are like up on like the third or fourth floor. Yeah. And the one cop is like 150 feet away or so, using his pump action shotgun. Like, what?
What are you hitting?
He was playing duck hunt while everyone else was doing it. Oh, look at that.
Well, I also like that this movie, I don't think they had it so much in the second one, but definitely in the first, like all of the bullets, like they were like wire foo bullets, because when people got hit, they're just like, they're flying backwards and slamming against walls.
Well, he's holding a handheld elephant gun, so of course.
I'm talking about just like,
but everybody,
regular, everybody was just flying around,
or getting even hit in the head with a nail, which apparently, even though Kersey's only done the the Home Alone trick with one board, it's apparently passed knowledge through town like within hours, because other people have rigged their homes with this, because during this shootout with the cop who just runs out because he says fuck it all, they have a trap there, and the one guy tries to bust in to get away from the cops. He gets hit in the head with the nail, and we get a shitty dummy scene, which is great. There's like 3 shitty dummy scenes in this film. Derek Carey, shout out to you, sir. 3 shitty dummy scenes. You'd love it. And then there's the other guy who gets pushed with a broom over the border.
Yeah, she's cleaning up the streets, literally.
I would like to know when the shift happened in movies where bullets were simply like these, throw people back. Because if you look at like all the older like westerns and war movies, like every time a guy dies, it's like he gets shot, and it's the let me fall down really slowly here, right here, and then like it's just all of a sudden at some point I want to know what the change was, where suddenly everything is and when a bullet hits you, you fly 700 feet backwards.
I'll tell you where that happened.
Oh,
it was in 1969 with the Wild Bunch. With our friend Mr. Ernest Borgnine. Sam Peckinpah was he did that.
Sam Peckinpah was big on that. Yeah, he was big on the high impact gunshot.
Yeah, like squibs everywhere. Yeah, I think it was Pauline Kael, but some critic described it as like a balletic bloodletting or something like that. Yeah.
Well, funny thing with this film is that after it came out, Bronson complained that it was too violent. Apparently, he said on talk shows that it was too violent, apparently, according to the book. And also that, in true fashion, they promoted this at Cannes in 1984 that it was going to be made, though they hadn't, gotten Bronson back, but Bronson got some more money. He's like, he didn't even want to come back. But they had him come back, and this one, he even said was too violent. And it's a good thing they made Death Wish 3, because as we've all talked about here tonight, I think, as much as we've pointed out all of its warts, I had so much fun with this movie because it's so crazy. And apparently the box office did as well, because while critics shit on this film, it was number 1 at the box office, and in its first 10 days made $10 million. By the time of its end of its theatrical run, it made $16 million domestically at the theater, which helped Canon, which is in financial ropes because of their investments and because of the lucrative deals they had, the cable contracts they had, because they've learned now. We're talking, they've been at it now for almost 5 years. They've learned now with all their contracts and stuff they had, they actually made bank, and they were able to use the money from this to continue Canon Films with even more money and productions. Because
that's amazing. I did not. There's nothing about sitting down to watch this that makes me think box office draw. I feel like I'm watching this like this is a direct to video, like beautiful VHS artwork, and people rented it by the truckload. But a box office sensation, wow.
Yeah. So I want to get. We'll close up tonight. I want to get one. Let me know what one favorite part out of this film. Yeah, it's not a great film, folks. We said if you talk about editing, anything technical wise, it's out the window. Forget it. But entertainment, there's a lot to be had here. So I want to go around the group quick and say, what was your one favorite character or part in this film? Go, Ian, you first.
Mrs. Rodriguez has expired. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Especially honestly. The way he delivers it. They like dug up this guy, put a doctor's suit on him within a couple hours and said, here's your line.
I think a close second would be when Kersey first gets to his friend's apartment and he finds the guy, dying.
Yeah.
He kneels down and he just, his delivery is, Charlie, what's happened?
He's bleeding from the mouth. He's all busted up. The furniture.
It's like, did you fall off your chair or something? No, you've been brutally beaten half to death. But he's like, Charlie, what happened? Like, Bronson, I know you're better. I think you're better than this, but I don't know. It felt like it was weird for him to say it because he was talking to a character who had his name too, so he didn't quite know how to deliver it.
Well, he's like 70 or near 70 at this point, and some of the running scenes, he's actually running. I'm mad props to him for being in shape, because I'm like, holy crap, the way he's running down some of those streets. But, but yeah, you're right. It's delivered with the amount of emotional movement of dirt, really, which is great. Because, yeah, his buddy, it's like, dude, you've been doing vigilante work for at least like 8 years by now, or 12 years by now. It's like, you saw gang members running past the taxi as you pulled up. You didn't really put like 2 and 2 together. What? But yeah, you're right. That was beautiful. His line delivery was just beautiful. Glenn, what about you? You got a favorite scene or character in this film?
Teeth.
Oh, teeth. Yeah.
And then there's other scenes where I watch them. I'm like, what? I like right in the beginning with they like stopped. He's in the cab trying to get to his friend's house, and he's like, $20 driver, give me passes. And the driver's like, oh yeah, the whole other side of the road is completely open. Like, has no one who worked this movie ever been to New York? Cab drivers don't stop for shit. They're going. And I love the scene after the whole phone call of you better check on your wife, and he's like, his wife's dead, and then it's Kersey and what's his face? He's like, well, how's he doing? He goes, fuck him. Basically, fuck him. Just whatever. He'll never be the same. He'll never be the same again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because his wife was killed. So yeah, it's like whatever.
What about did you get the chills of masculinity when Paul Kersey hails a cab? He goes, taxi. I was like, that's the most like, it's not quite a New York accent, but it's totally a Charles Bronson accent, whatever that is. My God.
Whatever the Charlie Bronson accent is. Yeah. I just loved, there's a scene in here, and I know it's small, but it just got a chuckle because it shows you they just got a bunch of extras for this film. One of the scenes I loved is very brief. Fracker, just at the pull of the trigger for the riot, he tells his gang to go kill. Just he gives everybody a chance to go kill. That's when they were. It's not the main riot. It was the beginning riot to flush Kersey out to kill him. He says, "Go kill." So they go, and if you catch it, it's in the foreground. Everybody's running. All the gang guys are running. One dude picks up a plunger. There's a dude who picks up a plunger, and it was a beautiful thing because you got all these guys with like chains and they've got rocks and crowbars and that. And I watched the one guy pick up a plunger, and I'm like, the director must have been like, okay, you see, we got all this crap and garbage around here in this unsafe neighborhood. It's gonna be dark soon, but just grab something as a weapon.
Well, you know why he picked that up, Mark? Because there's some shit about to go down.
Oh.
Sorry.
There it is. And there it is. There it is. Oh, yeah, it was that and I will say my other favorite part was how he found his gun again. Folks, he's running around the Bronx or wherever this neighborhood at night. There's trash and garbage everywhere. He's getting chased by the bad guys. They're coming after him. They're trying to take him out. And at one point he gets, I think, shot in the back or whatever, and he trips and falls. This is when we don't realize at first he's got a vet, but his gun goes flying. It's a heavy gun. It goes flying into some pile of debris, and he takes off. He doesn't have time to look for it. He's getting shot. So he takes off, and the guys go running after him. No one looks for the elephant gun, handgun. And there's like 5 bad guys. One of them could have looked, but no, they go after him. After he dispatches a number of them, shitty dummy off the roof, he manages to walk past where he ran before, and he steps and he's just kind of looking like, oh, there it is, and just picks.
Dude, it was an architect. Spatial awareness. That's his thing.
Oh, that's his superpower.
Attention to detail.
His special power is spatial awareness. So. So I think we'll wrap it up. Death Wish 3, final thought. Glenn, would you recommend it to someone?
No.
Not at all?
No, I wouldn't recommend. If it didn't have the typical winter scenes,
yeah,
I would recommend this one. But because of those, no.
Right.
That's why I don't recommend 1 or 2 to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are scenes that are not needed.
Right.
In a movie, you can easily get the point across without crossing that line. So, and I know different time or whatever, but just because of those, I don't recommend. I would never recommend these movies to people.
See, and I wouldn't even say a different time because they could have easily, especially with the way the series had gone, they could have easily, okay, you got your gratuitous nudity from Maria, with them ripping her shirt out in the middle of the parking lot, stuff her in the car, they drive away. That's all you needed.
And then a call from the hospital.
And then a call from the hospital. You didn't need, because we know these are bad guys. We don't need. We've already got 20 minutes of justification for Kersey to go off and blow these guys away. We don't need this.
Just to Dr. Collins saying, hey, your wife's here. You may want to stop at the store and pick up a new one because she's expired.
Look, I understand where you guys are coming from. And it is disturbing to watch this, especially, with these, sensibilities that are 30 years removed from when these things were made, but it shouldn't be surprising to anyone. I mean, we talk about genre films. But here's the thing. We talk about genre films like horror movies and slasher movies where they're constantly trying to outdo each other with these over-the-top depictions of assault and death and gruesome murders. The same, unfortunately, is true for sexual assault. I think that we have a special sensitivity to it because it's, it tends to be, women almost exclusively. But the message that the studio is getting from the gargantuan success of these films is that this is what the audience wants. Who cares what the taste is? I mean, I haven't seen Death Wish 4, but I imagine if there were to be a Death Wish 4 that doesn't have, a tasteless, nude scene, people would be like, "This isn't my death wish. I want my money back. Give me $3 back."
Not directed by Winter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so well, but let's see. Who is it? Someone trying to carry on the Winter name, the Winter brand. No, I'm not saying I advocate this stuff. I'm just saying I'm looking at it from
I understand what you're saying. I mean,
if I were to recommend it to someone, and I would have to say giant flashing lights. This has some quote unquote classic 80s sexual assault in it that you might need to skip over.
Yeah, and Winter's got something against Maria Sirtis because he also directed The Wicked Lady, in which she had a topless scene and got whipped. So
was it like a S&M topless scene?
No,
it's nothing sexy about it.
It was set in the Victorian age or whatever. The I think it was. I never actually watched it, but it's Wicked Lady. It was a period piece.
I'm just looking at the director for number 4.
Who?
It's I mean, the dude did Cape Fear, Guns of Navarone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The original Cape Fear or the remake?
The original.
Wait, the original. Yeah, because the remake was Scorsese. Yeah, I was gonna say, did Martin Scorsese direct that?
Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
He was slumming it. Yeah,
I'm looking at his filmography. I'm thinking that there's probably not. I mean, I could be wrong, but there's probably not a gratuitous rape scene in the movie.
In Crackdown, yeah, we'll have to see.
Well, there might be. It's just they'll all be wearing ape masks.
That's a different movie. That's a different movie altogether. This isn't Planet of the Apes.
Neighborhood where criminals evolved from man. No.
I was going to say it's called Planet of the Rapes.
Oh God! Wow,
that's Death Wish 5.
Wow, you went there, and we're going to end with that tonight.
Please do.
Well, we're gonna have let's see who fired the cannon the last time. It was the three of us. I think Glenn fired it last time, because we need to find out what we're going to watch next month for our official Cannon Fodder film. Though we've been covering a lot of Cannon films on the show, I didn't plan it that way. It's just the way it happens. So we're getting down to the numbers now, though. So we have 1 through 7. So Ian, if you wouldn't mind, I've got it here, so we're going to see if this works. If you want to fire the cannon, we'll see. Pick a number from 1 through 7. Now it is 1 through 7. So, what number are you going to load the cannon with?
I'm going to do it my best Cannon Films trailer guy voice. 1. No, that was terrible. Yeah.
All right. Let's see if this works. If I can get this to work, that is. I got a new phone too, so this is quality stuff right here. This is why I have so many subscribers. Anyway,
that's really good.
And you picked.
Really?
Superman 4. So next month, folks, for June, our Cannon Fodder episode. Glenn's already in tears. He's so happy with this choice. Glenn's leaving. Glenn has left. The BFD has left the building at the announcement that the cannon has hit Superman. Superman 4, folks, is what we're doing next month for Cannon Fodder. I don't know if I'll have a theme month. So far, I've been able to come up with one, so we'll see what happens. But Superman 4 next week. Well, nice shot there, Ian, with loading number 1 in. And well,
thank you.
So in that, oh, good. Glenn is back. He hasn't totally left. He's turning his he turned his camera off. We love you, BFD. Don't run away.
I love that Planet of the Rapes didn't do it, but Superman 4.
Planet of the Apes? No, Glenn's still hanging around. Okay, I'll deal with it. But no, Superman 4 as our next film? Yeah, he's gone. So, Ian, since you're here, please, license to shill, sir. Plug away, please.
I'm Ian Simmons. I can be found at kickseat.com, where I run Kicking the Seat. I'm also at youtube.com/ just look up Kicking the Seat. I do movie reviews and filmmaker interviews and commentary and stuff several times a week. So check it out. I've also been doing a bunch of written reviews lately. So kickseat.com for all your Kicking the Seat needs. If you have those kinds of needs, I don't know.
Well, yeah, of course we have those needs, and I know you gotta meet that Rotten Tomatoes quota, right? So for your written, so
it's not. Fortunately, it is not a quota, because sometimes I feel like writing stuff, and sometimes I just don't. Although this is the first case in which I decided not to do a podcast, but I'm just going to do a written review about a movie I recently watched, which was Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead.
Wow. Well, there you go. I'm sure you'll have lots of comments on that one, which if you need defending, I'll call Kersey. He'll take care of that for you. Okay. He's got a rocket launcher.
Are you talking about like the fictional character, like a zombie Charles Bronson?
Yeah. You know.
Ooh, both. I love it. Okay.
Both. There you go.
Let's do it.
Yes. BFD, you got anything?
Oh my God! Do we need to call the police? Oh.
No, we don't. No, they're not going to help. Call Kersey; he'll help.
No, that was just a burrito.
Anything you want to plug at all, sir?
No, I got my TikTok stuff. That's all.
His TikTok stuff. Check it out. A lot of fun. And thank you so much, folks, for listening to us talk about Death Wish 3. We do have Death Wish 4. I don't know if I'm going to do 5, but maybe if we could work it in. I don't know if I want to do a double feature next week, or we do one and then maybe try to work it in at some point. I'll think about it and ask my wonderful panel here if they're interested in 5. I have never seen 5, so I can go ahead and pop it. Glenn's done. Glenn's done.
For my heart.
For your heart. It's my back pills. Good. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to us talk about this. Hope you've enjoyed it. We do have another Death Wish, at least one more Death Wish film to talk about, which will be next week. Tune in for that. And now we'll just say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Teeth.